So, once we are done with the box modeling, before we import this into ZBrush, for this kind of workflow that we're doing, we want to make sure that this model has UVs, because we have very kind of set shapes that we know that need to be UV'd in a specific way, I would say. So now, if you go to object mode, go up to UV editor. This is what our UVs look like currently. We have a texture on here, and it is a checker texture, but we could just turn it off too, and we can take one like this. So, all right. So this, let's go ahead and open up the checker map. So in an ideal world, when you're done with your UVs, your model will look just like this, like checkered, kind of like the bottom here. It's pretty well unwrapped because it's just flat, but everything else here, you can see that UVs are very stretched and squashed right here. So it's basically pretty bad. So we need to unwrap them. And we're just gonna go ahead and do that. I like to, so in the PDF that I showed you, I kind of showed a method where you can just kind of remove and add on edges that you need for the UVs. So here we can see where there have been split. So if I select this edge right here, we can see that this is where this kind of island is split, but we don't need it to be split there, so we can kind of remove these and add new edges for our UVs. But what I'm going to do straight away is I'm going to go back into UV and just going to say camera based. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and say camera based. So now it just unwrapped this, which is pretty funny, with no edges. So now it's a kind of a clean model that has just been unwrapped kind of by the program, but obviously this is not going to work, because if we go into the checker map, we see that there's a lot of issues and these are overlapping and stuff. So we're going to have to basically manually unwrap it, which is fine. This is a pretty easy model to unwrap, and once we get going, you'll kind of understand how it works. So I'm going to right click, go into edge mode, double click here on this edge. You can see it kind of selects over there, and what we're going to have to do is mark an edge. So Maya calls this cut. So if we say cut this edge, click off of it, now it's going to be white. We can also see it right here. So cool, we cut this edge. And if we right click in here and press UV shell, you can see that this is all one big UV shell, which is, we don't want that. But then if we hover over this is a UV shell. So now if we say unfold this for me, it's going to unfold it and make it flat. So press W. So now it's unfolded, flat, great, beautiful. So we need to do this to all of the other kind of surfaces of this mug too. But there's kind of a systematic way of how you do it. You want to make sure that you kind of unfold the model, imagining that it's made from paper, and unfold it to lay flat. So now, for example, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this edge loop right here, around here, because that's a top of this kind of inside, right? And it's also a top of the outside. But I'm going to select it, I'm going to press cut. So now we have cut this UV shell, right? So now this whole thing is one UV shell. However, it is not open, so there's no cut in it. So if I would say unfold, it kind of unfolds it in a way that, stretches this out. So I'll go do stretch checker map. So you can see that it's kind of stretched still. It's not very, very good. So we need to make sure that we have kind of an opening seam and anywhere that's connected, that's a circle. So I'm just going to go ahead and select these seams, press cut, and go to UV shell. So now it has a cut in here, and if I say unfold, it unfolds it nicely. You see what the difference is? Pretty big. So it's important I kind of go ahead and cut up here as well, because here it creates that tiny edge. It's pretty proportional. So that's great. So now these two areas are unfolded and cut, and nice. So let's just keep going with this. So now we know already kind of from this that we're gonna have to cut the main kind of base of the mug to be its own island. So I'm gonna go ahead to edge mode, and I'm gonna start with the bottom. Something that I've decided already as I'm unwrapping this model is that I'm going to include the legs in here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of select all of these edges around and select the edges of the legs, and make sure that I select the highest edge loop of the legs as well. So just going around and selecting, and right here, so now it's connected. I press cut. So now it's all cut. Great. So now this, so now this is also separated from the bottom because it's also connected. So now we gotta separate this main part of the mug from the handle. So I'm gonna go ahead back into the edge mode and just cut around it, basically. Right here, right here, right here. So now I'm gonna press cut, and again, so now it is separated, which is awesome. But now we gotta kind of a vertical line so that it unfolds nicely. So I'm gonna go to edge, and I'm just gonna put these two edges right here. One thing that you kind of need to be mindful about is where your UV edges are, because that's where kind of patterns are going to be disrupted and stuff like that. So you always want to hide the edges as best you can. So now, for example, right by the handle is a good place to cut it. So now I'm going to unfold it, and look, nicely unfolded this whole edge, which is great. So now we only have the handle left and the bottom. So we'll start with the handle. I'm gonna go to edge, and I've decided that I'm just going to unfold this side of the handle as is, because it's already pretty vertical. Unfold this side of the handle, and then unfold this long kind of strip, and then unfold the ears separately. So this is how we're gonna do this. So we're just gonna select these edges right here, boom, boom, boom. Cool. Select cut. So now we just double check that this is a shell. Yep, you see, kind of see that's the shell. That's great. I'm gonna do the same thing. Go to edge mode, do the same thing on the other side. If this gizmo is bothering you, you can always press Q, and then it's gonna kind of disappear. So making sure I'm selecting the right edges, all of it selected. Press cut again. Nice. Go to UV shell. Yep, that's exactly what we wanted. Let's see what's happening here. So this inside has automatically kind of become a UV shell because we, made all those cuts. So that's nice. So that's going to be another unfolded area right there. So now this top is a little messy because if we were to unfold this right now and kind of see this, you can see that the ears are, they're kind of unfolded, but not in the nicest way. So if we go in and get the checkered map, we can see that looking from above, it looks pretty great. But like looking from the side, you can see that this is pretty stretched right here and stuff. So I'm just gonna go ahead and err on the side of caution and just unwrap this so that our textures look nice. So I'm just going to cut these out like so. So go cut. And actually we can select edges here as well, so I'm gonna select these inside edges. So I'm just gonna go ahead and select these, see how they're selected there, and say cut as well. So this now, these are individual UV shells, but if I press unfold, see how they kind of unfold a little more naturally and flat. So imagine if these were made out of paper and you needed to unfold them, you would cut here to kind of, you know, flatten them out on a table. So same with everything else. So alright, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. Now the bottom. So on the bottom again we have the legs. I think we're gonna just unfold them separately. So we're just gonna, because we have this nice circle on the bottom that we can keep just by, well, actually I'll show you. So now if I take UV shell, if I take this UV shell and I unfold it, it's not a circle. You see how the legs kind of come out and stuff? So like this is all basically inaccurate. So that's how I know that I probably should simplify this. Right here. Right here. So I'm just gonna basically kind of cut out the legs from this. I'm just shift selecting all of these. And press cut. And same thing what we did with the ears, I'm just gonna do with these. So I'm just going to kind of unfold these separately, making these cuts in them as well. Cut. And so then, yep, we have all different UV shells. So now we've basically unwrapped the whole model. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna zoom out, click and drag, select all of these, and press unfold. So now they're all unfolded. Well, okay. So that's pretty nice. They're all folded. But now we have to lay them out in one square. So that's our UV tile. So we're just gonna, well, actually we can press optimize to optimize the shells. We can straighten them. Oh, sorry. Oopsie. Not straighten. Orient the shells. But I want to orient them so that they're all, the long ones are all kind of facing in the same direction roughly. So I can do that by just, you know, roughly placing them in these directions, and selected them and say orient shells again. So now they're oriented all in the same direction, and click layout. So when you click layout, it's kind of gonna, you know, like it says, lay your shapes out for you. One thing that I'm going to try to do here, I'm not sure if I'll be able to, kind of try and make sure that actually all of my shapes kind of face the same way, so they're all oriented up. So let's say I had a texture on here that was like vertical lines, for example, right? On these islands, they would look like vertical lines, but on islands that are oriented like this, if was a vertical line running through it, it would look actually horizontal on here. So just to make sure that the shells are all oriented, let's see. Yep, and then we're gonna lay them out. Okay. So nice. So now they're all laid out straight, facing the kind of the same way, not overlapping, and just, you know, ready to go. Basically, I can grab these maybe if I'm very picky. Those are our ears, and, you know, orient them straight so that they're also kind of pointing straight. And the legs, we could do the same thing, but I'm not gonna worry about this right now because it's not too important. But yeah, so we are done with UV unwrapping. So if we go back in the checker map, so now we can see that you know, everything is pretty, like all the checkers look pretty much the same, face the same direction, nothing is really stretched or anything. But you can see also that what I was talking about, the seams, the UV seams. So this is where our seam is, so you can see that the texture doesn't line up. There's no way to escape this, but that's why you kind of try to place the seams in areas where they're going to be less noticeable. So for example, over here, you know. But yeah, that's it. You have UV'd your model.